It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is McKay. We're a little bit longer one today, but that's okay. We're going to dive right in. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin price, some charts I'm looking at to try to gauge when to buy and sell my altcoins. We're going to look at the Bitcoin weekly, the daily, the hourly, the 1 second chart. We're going to look at key levels on the 1 second chart. No, just kidding. That'd be ludicrous and insane. But no, without further ado, let's just dive right in. If you're liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe. And let's go. All right, I want to quickly start out with the money flow chart. Now, most people that have been in crypto for a bit have seen this chart. Very, very simple and straightforward. But if you're new, I just wanted to quickly cover it. Now, keep in mind that crypto has cycles, right? We all know it has bull runs, which, maybe go on for a year or two, and then it has bear markets, etc. But then even during its cycles when it's going up or having impulse waves to the upside, it has the same money flow happening. Just, I guess you could call it a mini cycle, like a cycle within the cycle, right? So basically all this chart's saying is that first people have their money in fiat, so the euros, USDT, USD, whatever your currency is. And then money flows from that into Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's always the first thing that drives the coins in this market to the upside. It gets the hype started, the FOMO. Everybody starts out, that's new to crypto at least, by hearing about Bitcoin, they FOMO into Bitcoin, right? Well, then once Bitcoin's made its run, and it starts to consolidate sideways or potentially have a small retrace, then money flows into the large caps. And we use Ethereum, which I'll show you that chart shortly, to kind of gauge if we're at that stage, within a cycle. Money will flow into the large cap coins, then the mid cap coins, and then trickle on down to your low or your micro cap coins. Now, one of the more obvious charts to gauge money flow is the Bitcoin dominance chart, and I do cover this chart basically every day on the channel. Now, I will put a link in the description to a video I made that's more in depth and explains basically the ins and outs of Bitcoin dominance. I'm not going to do that in this video, but I just want to quickly explain that. We generally know if this is going up, that's bad for altcoins. If it's going down, that's good, right? And I just use Bitcoin dominance as a timer to kind of know, is it a good time to be in altcoins or is it a bad time, right? So while it was in this large rising channel, we knew that, hey, this means the attention's in Bitcoin, whether it was going up or down. It just means that the dominance, the money flow, was going in and out of Bitcoin more so than the rest of the altcoins, right? The altcoins were bleeding. Ever since this broke down, which I covered on my channel extensively, we knew that, hey, this is good. This is kind of like a mini altcoin season. Measured move down here at 41.5, and we've just been kind of trickling that way. I also mentioned that we wouldn't just do it all in one wave. We, just like we did up here, impulse wave up, down, etc. The opposite would happen on the way down. We'd have down, up, down, and the key is that we just kept, as long as we're putting in lower highs and lower lows, we're good, right? It's a good time to be in altcoins. So I just want to quickly cover that before I jump over to the next chart that I'm watching right now to get an even more in-depth idea of where the money's flowing. So this next chart is the ETH versus Bitcoin chart. Now, I also will link in the description 2 videos that I've made. One's called 3 charts you must look at every day before buying crypto, and the other one is 3 more charts. In one of those videos, I do cover this chart. Like this is also a very important chart you can use to gauge where money's flowing. Basically, if this is printing a green candle, it just means that during that, this is the daily chart, by the way, it means that during that day, Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin, right? If it prints a red candle, it means that Bitcoin outperformed Ethereum. Simple as that. Doesn't necessarily mean the price of Ethereum went up or down. It just means that it did better during that day than Bitcoin. So they could both go down, but as long as Bitcoin or Ethereum goes down less of a percentage than Bitcoin, right, it's going to print a green candle. So I don't really use this to trade Ethereum, but Ethereum is the largest altcoin, so the largest, large cap coin, right? And we use this to gauge, is the money flowing from Bitcoin into, altcoins, and are they flowing into the large caps? And so right now I'm using this to kind of gauge that that's the stage we're at, right? Within this little mini cycle. Ever since Bitcoin dominance broke down, Ethereum's been outperforming Bitcoin according to this chart. So basically, ever since this large double bottom, right, that it put in, which the first bottom was late January, second bottom was early this month in March. Basically since the beginning of March, and it broke out of this little falling wedge, Ethereum has essentially been outperforming Bitcoin. Obviously, it broke up past this little zone, flipped this to support, consolidated sideways for a bit, broke up to my next mid-range zone, boom, flipped that as support. And right now, as I'm making the video, it's pushing through this red zone, which was previously support, turned into major resistance here, right? And so what we're kind of looking for is obviously for this to flip this into support and continue to push higher. And as it does, we know that the attention is starting to shift. It already has been, obviously, but it's starting to majorly shift from Bitcoin over to Ethereum or to the large cap coins. All right, now we're going to move over to Bitcoin, the elephant in the room, so to speak. And we're going to work our way out from out to in. So we're going to start out on the weekly chart, just going to show you some important levels here. So I've indicated with these arrows that if you look at this kind of darker white line I put, that 42,000, 43,300-ish, which we're above right now, clearly was an important area, right? It was huge support back here. It was acting as support during this huge impulse wave up. That was the area it was able to hold before it's moved to all-time highs. And then recently during our downtrend, it was the area that acted as major resistance for several weeks here, several weeks here, right? So clearly when we broke above that with this candle, that was a big deal. And the next level that we're looking at just from a weekly perspective would be this next, where we're at right now basically. Because if you look right now where we're at, let me clear up some of what's on the chart here real quick. And get a paintbrush back out. You can see that not as big as 43,300, but during this impulse wave up, this next area at about 40, we'll say 47,000, just 47,000 essentially, acted as support here. It acted as support basically, or at least it held up this entire, for 3 weeks in a row, it held up during this time frame. Then it was resistance, and that's where we're at now, acting as resistance. And you can also see that on the VPVR on the weekly, that clearly this is an important area. So we're gonna dive in kind of to some scenarios on the lower time frames, but from a weekly perspective, we want to hold 43,300. So if we have a pullback, that's kind of the key area that we want to make sure we close our weekly candle above, which that's coming here in a few days, 2 days. Or from a really bullish side is if we could break and get a candle body to close above 47,000 here within a couple of days, then we could potentially make this next leg up to this other key area above at around 51,000, just over 51,000. We'll say 51,500. Okay, so the next piece to our puzzle is the Bitcoin daily chart. So the whole idea in trading is we're just taking these pieces of this puzzle and we're trying to decide, is it a good time to be in altcoins or a bad time? Now we know from zoomed out and looking at some of the other charts that clearly altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin at the moment. Bitcoin dominance is going down, etc., etc. But it's also all about the timing of when you buy your Bitcoins. You still want to time those with Bitcoin's strength. Now, we looked on the weekly chart, and obviously, if we were to retrace in the next couple of days further than we already have, we want to close above 43,300, and we're still bullish, right? But to be even more bullish, what we really want to see on the daily chart, and I posted this on Twitter yesterday, is that we got rejected back here at 44,600-ish. It's about 44,500 to 600, right? Once, twice, and 3 times. During this run. Leg up, rejection, leg up, rejection, leg up, rejection, right? And then just recently, we were able to finally break above this. It's essentially was a ascending triangle, right? And we broke above it. And for the mega bullish, side, you want to see this as a bullish retest, because otherwise it could be what's called a bull trap. And the way we know it's a bull trap is if it's not able to hold this level. If it loses this level, comes up on the underside of it and retests it bearishly, well, then you're probably looking at, it's back inside the pattern, and at the very least, it's going to head back down here and retest around, 40,000. Now, of course, again, could be just some quick wicks and stuff, and what we'd be looking for is for the actual candle to close at the end of that week above 43,300, and we'd still be bullish, from that perspective on the weekly chart. But to remain bullish short term, we need this to just be a bullish, retest. And the way that we'll know that's valid is if this next high, which we're going to zoom into the 1 hour chart next, we need this next high to be higher than the previous high, right? So we're on the 1 hour chart now. There was this rising channel we were in, and now clearly this is already on the zoomed in chart. This move where it broke to the upside of this, retested but lost it, this is a bull trap. Now, bull traps can happen on 5-minute time frames, 15-minute time frames. Obviously, the larger the time frame, the larger the pullback. But what you can expect whenever you have a bull trap and it breaks back inside of the pattern is for it to at least revisit the bottom of the pattern. This even wicked below, but we came all the way back down, visited the bottom of this pattern. If you extended this trend line out, right, wicked even below, but on the previous chart, that was just hopefully a retest of the bigger pattern on the daily chart. Now, the way that we know that that's valid is if this high that's currently pushing up is higher than this high back here. So we need to push above 48,300-ish to confirm that this was just a bullish retest. At that point, what you'd be looking for then is to get in on the potential higher low, right? Because that means we're still in an uptrend. High, low, this would be a higher high, and then you just be looking for maybe a retest back around these levels that got lost, at about 46, 47,000, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now, zoomed in as far as opening up altcoin trades. I didn't want to focus on any altcoins specifically in this video. I just kind of wanted to go over what I'm seeing with Bitcoin, what I'm using to kind of gauge when's the time to get in and when's the time to get out. Now, if this doesn't push up to become a higher high and it's a lower high, then we're looking at least a short-term potential, midterm. You never know how long the trend's going to be, but you at least know you're in a short-term downtrend at that point. You can then expect that it's going to push lower than this previous low here, right? And then we start looking at some of the stuff on the weekly chart that I talked about as far as levels to look out for as far as opening up alt positions, which is the 43,300. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, thank you for joining me on TA with MK. Follow me on TikTok and Twitter. TikTok for my silly little videos and Twitter for my altcoin setups. I'm going to start updating those a little more frequently. That way, if you guys are looking to enter some of the setups that I'm watching, I can kind of give you more up-to-the-minute analysis on them, right? So if you're liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and we'll catch you tomorrow. It's TA.